everybody. Welcome to Critical Conversations, the show where Melissa and I get to talk to you, our call-in guests, our people. Hello, everybody. This is July 1st, 2020, and everything's looking and sounding good. Excellent. Thank you very much for confirming that. Getting all these little technical details always confirmed is always good. Boy, what a day today has been. Oh, man. Okay, so I got up a little early this morning, and at 8 a.m. was recording our new Three Apostates episode with Lloyd Evans and Jonathan Streeter. We did a fun episode this morning about the X communities and the trials and tribulations and upsets and ups and downs and problems and everything else connected with that. And of course, social commentary and all that being what it is. We even touched into some social activism, BLM, stuff like that a little bit as well. So it was a pretty interesting show, a little longer than usual, a little more in depth, I thought. A little bit more, had a little back and forth. So that was kind of fun. So you'll be seeing that not this weekend, next weekend. Because the other thing I did today, this afternoon, was I also recorded an interview with a wonderful man. And his name is Rick, and he is a black man. I got him on my show. I was on his show. Now he's been on my show. And this you will be seeing this weekend. And that was all about Black Lives Matter. And we got to do a really great, nice, long discussion about, my concerns, his concerns, the situation, the history, all of it. And we really covered a lot of good stuff. And it was a good conversation. I think we were both a little nervous going into it and kind of, loosened up a bit as we went and really just were talking honestly and openly with one another. And I thought that went really great. I thought it did. I tend to go on and on and on. So I can never tell sometimes. Anyway, hey guys. Hey Henny. Great to see you guys here. And anyway, so I've had a day. And then here we are doing the show here now with you guys. So I wanted to give you a little bit of big day today. Yeah. So I'm going to let Melissa do a lot of the talking tonight. Everybody's like, thank God. And but I did want to do a little intro here and let you all know what's up. We thought we would continue this week just to get right into it. Hey, good. Made it, Cheyenne. Good. Glad to see you here. And I will remind everybody right now, the call-in line is 984-214-4154. Feel free to call in at any moment. We are going to talk more, as you see in the topic there, mental health 2. This is mental health part 2. We had so much to say and so didn't get to so much stuff last week. And so we thought, look, that was probably our best show so far. And why don't we continue that topic? Because it is such an important topic and it means so much to both of us. It's very personal to us and we know to you guys as well. And if there's any value we can bring, we want to bring it to your life with this show. And I know this is a new thing. It's a little different. It's, I know I'm broadening out into, kind of new areas or different areas and stuff. And I know some people don't really particularly want to go along on the ride with that. And I get it. I hope that I can build up, an audience with this, with you guys and just kind of keep growing the channel and growing this show. And that's my hope. And I want you guys to help me do that. For example, I would love to get some suggestions from you guys of what topics you would like us to take up and talk to us about in future episodes. I'm wide open for suggestions and ideas. We look this stuff up and you see topics like food and animals and entertainment and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know that I want to get that basic, but whatever. I'm willing to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. That's the whole point of this show. So, and bring whatever, good advice or fun or humor or factoids or experience or whatever we can bring to it, That's kind of the effort here. Okay. Wow. All right. So cool. So with that, I want Melissa to start talking. Oh, Hey, we have a caller screening right now.
Oh, wow.
Cool. All right. Well, we will get to that in just a moment. Let me first get to Melissa. Um, I would like you to please pick up where we left off
Okay.
last week. Last week we kind of covered personal
Right.
stuff. Tons more to talk about on that, of course.
Right. Always. Yeah.
But this week we thought we'd move into part 2 of the stigmas and reactions and societal associations with mental health, what you run into in the outside world. It's what's going on up here, and then there's what's going on in the big wide world outside, you know? So, oh, cool. Saw you on Lloyd's show. First time on your live stream. Also saw you Telltale. Big day for me. Sent letter of disassociation from JWs today. Appreciate your work.
Wow.
Good job, man. That's great. Lip locked no more. I can't tell the gender on that, so I'm just going to say good job. Sorry. Yes, man. All right. So, yeah, critical thinking's a good topic. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be definitely a subject for the show.
Yeah.
So
Let me write that down.
yeah. So moving on now. So I wanted Melissa to talk a little bit more, sort of set the stage for the sort of things we want to talk about in this show. And all that being said, of course, we're wide open to talk about whatever you want if you call in. So
that's right. So yeah, like Chris was saying, we'll talk a little more about, you know, what's going on in the world, mostly what's going on in the United States with mental health care, what to do if you feel like you're having mental health issues, and a little bit more on the struggles and the stigmas and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, should we do that? Should we start talking about that now or see what the caller here has?
We can see what the caller's
Yeah,
doing.
let's go ahead and do that, just so we don't have them on hold forever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Mark, Scientology. Hello.
Yes, I've been doing a little searching on the internet about the ideal orgs.
Yep.
The most common thing that people talk about is how they just get totally freaked out, and by the people, how some of them actually have had to feel like they've had to call the police and have them get let out. But and I can't figure out how Scientology, with the numbers dwindling, to keep operating this way, keep freaking out and scaring people away.
Okay.
And so it doesn't make no sense.
How Scientology does what exactly now? I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, everybody that I've read online that goes gone into the ideal orgs get completely freaked out. And they get completely freaked out.
Yeah, they get freaked out about. You mean people get freaked out about Scientology?
Well, about the people in these ideal orgs, they get they go in there and they just get and they just get people just come up, the ideal org workers just come up and just start really pressing on them, you know, putting pressure on them, and when people tell them that we need to leave. And they say, and the ideal worker said, okay, 10 minutes. 10 minutes turns into 20 minutes, and these people feel like that they just don't want to leave, and a lot of them just get up and just get up and haul ass out of there.
You mean like the public people who come in there get pressured to do Scientology?
Yeah. No, they take that stress test and all that stuff, and people just feel so uncomfortable about it.
Oh, totally. Well, it's salesmanship. You know, it's just your standard hard sell salesmanship, and it's pretty high pressure at this point because go ahead and turn down the volume in the background there. You can hear the show going. If you could, just so I don't get the feedback. Can you do that for me?
See, I just got my new laptop, so see if I can figure it out.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that. I think what you're referring to and talking about is the high pressure salesmanship that goes on in Scientology orgs, and it is high pressure. It's funny though because they really want to sell you stuff when you go in there, but at the same time, sometimes they'll ignore you. It's weird. You never really know what you're going to get when you go into those places. Sometimes they'll just let you kind of wander around and leave, and other times they're all over you. And I think it has something to do with how you look, whether you got any money, whether you look like you got money.
You look like, yeah.
I think that's how that works, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to me that the numbers are so low, and they want more people, but they keep freaking everybody out.
Oh yeah, completely. Yes. And that has to do with the fact that they are in a mindset where they are told by L. Ron Hubbard in his writings and David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology now, that you better make the sale. You better make some money, right? You better get the guy to fork over the cashola, right? And if they don't, then they've done something wrong, because every single person who walks in the door is supposed to be a sale for them. It's supposed to be somebody who's going to sign up. And if they don't get the sign up, it's their fault. It's not the public person's fault. It's them who didn't do the Scientologist who didn't do the good enough job. So that's why they get so like, when they finally get somebody to walk in the door, you know?
Yeah, I live about 40 some odd miles north of 40 miles north of Seattle. I'm thinking about going down to check out the Seattle org and just checking out and see if it's as weird as people say it is.
Yeah, I recommend doing so. You know, just to check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Go look. You know, and see what happens, because I think you'll find it'll be a just don't walk in there with your checkbook or any money.
Yeah,
leave your credit cards, money, everything. Leave it at home. Don't even leave it in your car, because if they do successfully start selling you for if that happens, you don't want to have your money with you, and you don't want to give them your address.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I got on one YouTube video, and next thing you know, I'm getting these emails from Scientology telling me how to clean up. How to clean up. Yeah. How do you? You know, and with this pandemic that's going on.
Oh, right.
They think
yep.
that
That's right. That's another way they think they can create good public relations with the people around the org, so that people will think good of them and think that they're doing good work. And it's all just a cover, you know. That's all that's going on there. Yeah. So they're so desperate right now to get approval from anybody, you know, because they're so toxic. That they're resorting to, you know, cleaning everything. And by the way, Scientology is kind of good at cleaning things. They're really obsessive about it. Melissa can attest that I'm a little bit of a clean freak. Yeah,
he loves to clean.
Yeah.
He likes to keep everything very clean.
Yeah, it's been a few years, and we've had some clashes over that. So
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on another note, here in Seattle, the Seattle mayor is finally giving the police to crack down on all these protesters, and they're taking over a park. The cops are finally going there and finally cleaning the place out.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard that that Chaz zone is no more. That the police have gone back and reclaimed the police station, and they are bringing some order there.
Good.
And that is good, because we want the restoration of social services, because apparently there was some stuff going on there that was hurting. I mean, people. I think there was a murder or something. I can't say I know all the facts, shooting or something, but I'm glad that there is some sense of normalcy being restored. I hope that the effort of the protesters to bring awareness to what the Black Lives Matter movement's trying to do still had some positive outcome there, even though, you know, I think you and I are on the same page that some of the protesting went a little bit too far, especially with that Chaz zone. I don't think that was really called for, but But I do hope that that this is a net positive as an outcome on this whole thing. You know?
So. Yeah. Well, one thing I feel very strongly about is actually with Black Lives Matter is it's not about race. It's about they want immunity. They want to be able to commit any crime they want and have total immunity.
I'm going to push back on that. I don't think that's necessarily true of the movement as a whole. I think you can find, the people who were rioting, for example, or looting are not the same people who were protesting, which is also not necessarily the same people who are kind of running the movement. You got a lot of different groups going on here. Mm-hmm. It's not one big thing. It's a lot of things joined together. And you had bad actors. You had people going into this with the effort to sabotage the protests and make it all look like it was horrible and awful. And some of the reporting on this has not been super accurate, which is why from the very first day I was telling people, hold off. And I'll ask you, Mark, the same thing, to please hold off on coming to conclusions about what's going on until we get all the facts in. And unfortunately, that takes quite a while. Through investigation and reporting. So I'm not going to say that, or agree that the whole movement is about trying to be able to get people to commit crimes with immunity. I think the movement is about trying to get an equal footing, with all the ethnic groups in this country, and especially with the Black groups, and, trying to catch up on the promises of the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. And what that's about. And that's important stuff, and I don't want to tarnish it with, well, it's all about just, a bunch of criminals. Because sure, there could probably be, in this vast ocean of people called the United States, some bad actors involved with this who are trying to do bad stuff. But overall, that's not how I see this movement playing out. I don't know. Does that make any sense, or am I just talking Martian on that? What do you think?
Well, judging what I've seen with my own two eyes and ears, it just seems to be just an absolute free for all.
Yeah, I get that. And especially in Seattle, where you had that zone of people who were acting a bit, well,
yeah.
Antisocial, a little deconstructionist, a little weird. I agree with you on that. I would have been uncomfortable being there with that, because it was a lawless sort of situation.
But so on YouTube, this one, these two Marines, one is Hispanic, the other one is other, but they got attacked because somebody mistook them for a white supremacist when they're clearly not.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, there are accidents, there are problems, there are bad actors. I'm not going to deny that. I'm certainly not going to be sitting here saying everybody connected with this is rosy white and what's the problem. Mm-hmm. And there's no issue. I'm just going to say that we need to keep an open mind and critically think about all the information we're receiving about this, because the truth is usually not as bad as the media presents it, and not as good as maybe some idealists would like it to be. It's usually somewhere in between with this stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. No.
Yeah. I just didn't like what I saw.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it, and I get your concerns. I'm not trying to throw that back in your face. I just want to say, be willing to look at the bigger picture as well. That's all I'm saying. Beyond Seattle, beyond what happened there or is happening there, there's a larger movement here, and there's some good things being sought after. And there are people who have been at the blunt end of society, kind of getting hit in the face repeatedly by society. And we need to, also be aware of the fact that we need to do something about that, because our society really is as good as we treat the lowest rung of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and another point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on police reform, if these mass reforms get through, a lot of people don't know that some of these what I call Dukes of Hazzard cops all over the rural areas, they just choose just to flat out ignore them and just keep operating business as usual.
Which people?
Some of these reforms. What I call the Dukes of Hazzard cops in the rural areas of this country,
mm-hmm.
that are when they just figure we've been operating the same way for 50 years, we're going to totally ignore whatever these Yankees or whatever government says. We're just going to keep doing whatever we want and just completely ignore all these new laws that hold them more accountable.
Yeah, I get. You're talking about some of the. You're talking about like the rural police and stuff, not really paying attention to. Yeah, that's for sure something we need to do something about. And police reform is something I feel very strongly about.
These good old boy redneck hardcore.
Yep.
Hardcore. They're nothing more than thugs.
That's right.
Who don't even have a basic understanding of the law. All they are is glorified ticket writers and have no problem going rowdy on anybody who even sneezes on their own way.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing we need to reform because none of us need that, And those are the kind of people who abuse the system, abuse people, and get away with it because they got a badge. And we don't. We definitely need to change that condition. And I wish it could happen faster,
Yeah, we need accountability. We need universal accountability. Doesn't matter if you're small town Mayberry or big city New York. Every cop in this country has to be held to the exact same standard.
Exactly.
Right.
We just can't have some small town redneck good old boy police station operating any way it wants.
That's exactly right.
I lived in a type of town in Washington State called Duval, and I was harassed all the time because I rode a motorcycle.
Right. Exactly. So so good. So I'm glad we're on the same page on that, and we want to make that happen. And I hope that will be an outcome of this whole social movement that's been so controversial. I hope that we can make some real effective changes. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. One quick thing is that when the cop pulls you over, you're supposed to be basically submissive and obedient, and yet the cop can just run his mouth. He can just run his mouth and say do what he wants. You're just expected to take it.
That's right. That's right.
And if a cop you can't badmouth a cop, but a cop should not be allowed to badmouth you.
I agree. I think that's exactly
well,
part of the whole process of what we need to do to reform these guys. So cool, man. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page on that. It's good to hear from you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, man.
Yeah. I'm watching the podcast for the first time on my new laptop.
Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and thanks for calling in. We definitely appreciate your viewership.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, man. Bye-bye. Cool.
So I saw a request in the chat for some 7cam.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. I got so involved. Let's check out. Oh, there he is.
Aww.
There he is. Our little 7. Hashtag 7 the Wonder Cat.
His eyes are actually open.
Yeah, this time. I think he's just chilling there.
Aww.
Aw. Oh. There he is. All right. There's our boy. All right. We'll check back in with him in a little bit. Love my 7cam. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Melissa.
Yes.
And let's go ahead and talk about continue the conversation on mental health. And again, folks, feel free to call in 984-214-4154. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this or any other topic. But let's see if we can get some calls on this particular topic. Melissa, go ahead.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to start with is if you are feeling like you have mental health stuff going on and you get to the point where it's really getting bad and maybe you feel suicidal, we just wanted to mention the mental health suicide hotline, and it's 1-800-273-8255. You can also Google it.
Comes right up.
Yeah, it's the first thing that comes up. So
that's right. There's also
suicide hotline,
and there's also local state lines. Even county and city lines are sometimes available for people. And the national hotline will transfer you to a local representative or helper for your area. Is that how I understand it works?
Yeah. All right.
Don't worry, Couch. We'll have some more 7 Cam in a little bit. All right. Yeah, mental health issues have skyrocketed since COVID started. I believe it.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So I know I don't have the Colorado helpline offhand, but the national line will take you to that, as I understand it. You can probably
Google it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine.
So, okay. So what you got?
So, well, let's talk about stigma, I guess. So I don't know what your experiences are out there. I know for me, I've had some stigma thrown my way before. We talked about last week, I think, the idea that if you're depressed, you're lazy. I've heard that so many times, and it's like, no, that's not what's going on. It's an overwhelming, deep well of numbing sadness that really affects you physically. So I think that's one of them. But I think in general, in this country, it's still rough. We got a long way to go, but I think it's getting so much better. I think that I see more people talking about it than when I was younger. And when I was younger, it wasn't barely ever talked about. It was something you didn't want. You were this weirdo if you had it. And now it's talked about so much. It's brought up in TV shows, fictional and non-fictional. It's everywhere. So everyone's talking about it. What was that movie with Pete Davidson? Oh, King of Staten Island.
Yeah.
That's a good one about it.
Yep. That's a very good depiction of it. It's hard. Yeah. It's very hardcore real, that movie.
Yeah.
Because the guy comes off like a complete jerk.
Yeah.
And so in the first act of the movie.
Right.
but he's not, and a lot of that has to do with, what's going on up here. He's got some mental health issues.
Yeah. So then I'm trying to think of some other good movies and TV shows that get it really well. I think 6 Feet Under, which is an older show, but I think they did okay with bipolar with Billy. That was the character. Sometimes I got a little mad, but
and they also did a really good job with the trauma.
Yes.
The survivor trauma.
The survivor trauma with David.
Yeah.
I won't say too much in case you haven't seen it, but yeah, they really did they showed what PTSD is really, really like.
Exactly.
How it haunts you and you see that person in everybody, and you just after it first happens, and it's just amazing how well they did and how sad it was. But it was one of the best written shows. It really nailed it in so many ways. There were these gems of wisdom in that show. Yes. Yeah. The other one I know is a lot of stigma about for me is anxiety. That's another one where people think maybe you're faking it or it's not as bad as it sounds. They think it's easy to get over. You just need to take a few deep breaths. And I don't think anybody that says that has ever had a full-blown panic attack for an hour. But, the deep breathing helps, don't get me wrong. But it's just like, there's something about a difference between having a little anxiety about and stress about maybe something you have coming up or whatever. But then there's like anxiety disorder where it comes on for no reason, lasts for as long as it feels like, and then goes away when it feels like. So I know that's why I have my little Klonopin in my purse just in case. I haven't had to use it in a really long time, actually, but I have that in case, 7's great when I'm feeling that way. Just pet him and calm down. But I think people don't get how tough it can be. I mean, I remember one time when I was working doing tech support like years ago, back in like 2011, and I had it was like an hour and a half long panic attack at work. I had to walk away from my desk and just go chill out in the hallway for a little while. And I never had a panic attack that long since or ever before that, but it was crazy, and I don't even know what brought it on. So,
yeah. One of the things I had to learn or unlearn and overcome was trying to talk a person out of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, well, this is just another kind of problem this person is having right now. And so I'm going to logically reason with them through this and show how this is not a problem right now or whatever. And not understanding, as the partner, that that's not what's needed. You don't have to solve the problem because, one of the things is that when you get the anxiety or the depression, things come out of your mouth, but it's the anxiety or the depression that's the problem, not necessarily the things that are being said. These are just kind of manifestations of it. At least it's been my experience.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to blanket everybody with this. I'm literally just talking about my own experience here. But I think that I had to unlearn, oh, well, I'll just solve this problem. And of course, I'm a guy too, so I'm a problem solver. And actually, I learned through my own panic attacks and depression that, I didn't want to be talked out of it. That wasn't what I needed. I just needed somebody to kind of sit with me and hold me and understand and just kind of be there, And that can go a lot longer, a lot farther than trying to talk the person out of it or something,
Yeah.
Anyway,
just reassuring them.
Yeah.
If you're either in a sort of romantic relationship where you're comfortable enough with someone that you can give them a hug and just kind of hold them until they can feel better too, that can work. Obviously it kind of depends on your relationship. If you don't know that person that well and you hug them, that might just make it worse. Freak them out. But yeah, if you're if you know each other well enough where that's okay, then that's definitely a good thing too, for me at least. And what other there? And then I think I have a lot of friends and some relatives that have bipolar, and I think for that, there's definitely a lot of stigma around that. Like, I don't think a lot of people get it, and there's still a lot to learn about it. You're not unstable all the time. And I saw a comment a little while ago, like a week or two ago online, about how you shouldn't hire people with mental illness because they're unstable. And it's like, no, if they're doing the right things, they're not. If they're taking care of it and they're able to get access to the care they need, they can get a job. They can keep a job. I mean, obviously it depends on the level of your mental illness, because some people do have it so extremely that they can't work. But, a lot of us, as long as we have the right care in place, can.
Yeah, there you go. I believe we have Henny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says Sunny, but I'm pretty sure it's Henny. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Hi, Melissa. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Henny.
I'm always honey, but yes, it's Henny. How you doing, sweetheart?
Hey, how's it going?
Okay, good. I wanted to just agree with Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
About the Hi, sweetheart. About the stigma, the stigma. Am I not saying this right?
Mm-hmm. Stigma. Yeah.
The stigma, of mental illness. It really is. It's very, very pervasive. We spoke about this on the last episode, but it really is. And there are so many different, like I was saying, levels, but there are different degrees of it, and there's also, personality issues that are not really mental illness, but falls into the category also, It's a very, very, it's a very hard topic. and to understand and to help with. You know, I'm glad that there are people that are out there to help. You know, whether it's talking to somebody or taking your medication. You know, I wanted to say, you were talking about movies, and I saw a movie recently, and it was, I believe it was Ask Alice or something about Alice.
Sounds familiar.
It was Julianne.
Oh,
it was with Julianne and William Billy Baldwin. They were so terrific together. Now the thing was that she had Alzheimer's disease. At a very young age, which is not. Now I don't know if it's mental illness. I really don't. But what she said was, at one point, she had said to him, "You know, I wish I had cancer." And he says to her, "Don't say that. That's terrible to say." And she says, "But you know, if you think about it, if I had cancer, everybody rallies around and they support you and they have ribbons and they have walkathons and this and that." She says, "But if I say I'm losing my mind, people don't know how to react. They you know, that's the end of my job and that's the end of this." And, you know, and it touched me. It really, really did, because that's a big problem.
That's right. That's right.
That's why I, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to say, the movie you're talking about is called Still Alice.
Yes.
Still
Alice.
Yep. It's huge. It's this huge problem because we're so ignorant of it. We don't understand it. We don't know what it is. We don't know what causes it. You know, Alzheimer's is this deteriorating brain disease, and you just watch the person's personality just disappear over time in front of you. I mean, I have family who suffer from that, and it's not fun. There's nothing enjoyable about it. It's just awful, you know. And
worry about that.
And we're still figuring it out. We're still trying to figure this disease out. There's a lot of research, but you know, the brain is like the final frontier, and we're just at the edge of understanding so much about it. We still have so much more work to do, you know, to get to the heart of this stuff.
So much. And when you stigmatize like that, there's a lot of people who won't come forward, Chris. And this is also a very big issue, which is why suicide is so high. It really is, because people that you would never suspect, like an Anthony Bourdain. I mean, that was so shocking.
Yep.
You know, someone successful and you would think, you know, well-traveled and educated, and just, you know, the humility that he had. He had a lot of self-deprecation, which I noticed in interviews, but not to the extent of the outcome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's because of that stigma that people just, you know, they keep it hidden. It's always been hidden, unless it's really, really severe that you can't hide it.
Right.
Exactly. And that stigma, you know, we had a commenter in the comments talking about how in the Asian community, this is totally denied, not a problem. You know, there's no such thing as mental health issues, you know, just ignore it. And so we've still got, you know, whole swaths of and cultures that are just not even anywhere near recognizing that it's even a problem.
No, they won't. Right. They won't even acknowledge it. I'm sure in that community, they must feel like it's dishonorable in some way for you to admit any kind of, you know, a thing like that. They don't want to know it. I mean, and it's not just, I mean, I'm sure it's pervasive there as well, but it's pervasive all over the world.
Exactly.
It really is.
That's right. It's just part of the human.
Really made to feel bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the human condition. You know, it's just part of who we are. And we used to call it demonic possession. We used to call it, you know, the bad humors. I mean, there used to be like all kinds of crazy explanations for it. Who knows if we're on to something now with the brain work we're doing? I think we are. I hope we are.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so do I.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks, Henny. It's a thing, man.
Listen, this is a critical condition as anything that we're facing. And I really hope that that we, spearhead it really, because it needs it. We all need it. And I wish you love and luck and good mental health. And I love Seven, and I'm going back to watch him and you guys. And I'll always put my 2 cents in, as always.
Awesome, Henny. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. So, yeah, stigmas. Yeah. All right. So, ex-Scientology saying here, doctors now are required to ask mental health questions all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it's a good thing to do. I think getting data is always a good thing to do. Even, I don't know that I want medical doctors who don't understand what's going on making evaluations about it, but I think data collection is vital. And I think we have a really poorly designed medical healthcare system here in the United States that does not centralize the information. Every time you go to a new doctor, you got to
start over.
And I mean, what's been your experience with that?
I think personally, and just from my experience, I think you should be going to a psychiatrist for your mental health drugs because general practitioners are good about certain things. They're family doctors. They know about general medicine, and that's great for like general stuff, but it's not great for psychiatry. They don't understand the drugs as well. They don't know all the details and side effects and how much is good to give a woman who weighs 140 pounds and is 5 foot whatever versus a guy that's 200 pounds. What should you be? I think a psychiatrist understands that a lot more intimately, and they have that education. So I think we need to make sure, and it's so expensive to go to a psychiatrist, so that's why so many people go to general practitioners instead. So I think that's a big, huge problem. We have to make that more accessible.
Exactly. Plus getting it covered in healthcare coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, there's so much work to do on this. It's such an uphill battle. Not dissimilar to, some of the human rights issues we're facing with some of the protests and activities that are going on around the country right now.
Yeah.
We want to move that ball down the road. It seems to be the same kind of hill we're having to climb to get even recognition of the problem of mental health. And actually even getting down to the definitions, the understanding of it. What is mental health? What is a mental illness? Why, we call it that, but what does that mean?
Yeah. What is it exactly that's ill?
Yeah, and I think like illnesses, it's not a one-size-fits-all definition. No. I mean, what's the definition of being sick?
Right. Well, it's like I'm also type 1 diabetic, and I've met a lot of other type 1 diabetics because I I used to before COVID, go to groups and stuff. And, although we have very similar experiences, the disease does not work the exact same way in everybody. Some people, they took very good care of themselves all their lives and they still have complications. And some people don't, and they don't have any complications, So it's just luck of the draw, and it sucks. But that's just the thing, is it treats you differently, and different insulins treat your body differently depending on who you are. I can't take Humalog. It gives me really bad lows. Mm-hmm. But some people love their Humalog. So it's the same thing with mental health drugs. Like I was seeing in the chat, different people talking about the drugs that work for them and didn't work for them. And it's like, some drugs work perfectly well for one person and they make another person crazy. So
exactly. And we've got to get to a place where we understand why that is, mm-hmm. and how to deal with that. And that's where the research has got to go. We have a caller, Meredith. I'm going to pop this one on here. Yay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Meredith.
Hi.
Hey, welcome to the show.
You're welcome. Love your show. I like how you make me rethink some of the things I think. Other than that, we really have to get to where health insurance covers mental conditions, period. Yep. There is no, that just has to be done. There is no two ways around it.
I completely agree. Do you have, how do you think we can do that? And I'm not trying to dump the whole problem on you. I'm just kind of curious about your ideas on it.
Well, I think it should be mandatory that any insurance company in the United States covers mental illness the same as any other disease or illness.
Exactly.
Period.
You know,
I mean that's just period. I mean,
yeah.
Would you deny treatment to a cancer patient? That's a disease, correct? Yes, it is.
That's right.
You know, a lot of mental illness. I'm not saying all, but mental illness. A lot of it is caused by chemical imbalances. That's a medical condition. That's not just, you know, someone just who is just out there being weird because they're just weird. You know, most of it has to be done, and there's just no insurance has to cover it, 100% or whatever they cover it, or whatever chronic illness one may have.
That's right. I look at it this way, and tell me what you think about this. And I don't think this is any kind of radical thinking. In fact, I think we've already said it, but just to put it a different way, you know, mental health isn't really different from physical health. It's the same thing. It's your body. I mean, if it's your brain or your stomach, or I hit you in the toe with a hammer, you know, I'm going to change how you think by doing that to you, right? So,
you know,
it's a whole
when you
thing.
work with cancer patients, it affects their mental health.
Yes.
When you know, it's all interrelated.
Yep.
Exactly. And I don't think we look at it that way.
If you have mental illness,
you know,
and we should.
Exactly.
And I've been saying this I'm an old fart, for 40 years. You know, it sucks. The insurance coverage for mental illness sucks.
Exactly.
We have to change that. And, you know, how do we go about that?
I think the first step is that awareness step. You know, I think we all need to, you know, recognize, push, talk about, promote, really get the word out there about this, that this is a thing. It's not an imaginary disease. It's not an attention-seeking thing. It's not I'm a poor victim and pay attention to me. You know, we just shrug this stuff off. And now, of course, we've got this nationwide problem, and this goes back to the 80s, of the healthcare system just not even barely being existent for people who have really severe mental health issues. And they're wandering the streets, and we treat them like criminals, you know? And this is awful.
And that's wrong, too. That's wrong.
Yeah. And that comes from this lack of awareness, this pushback, this, I don't want to deal with it. Crazy people. They're just crazy. No, there's a condition there, and we got to recognize it. We got to treat it. We got to deal with it. We can't just leave these people in the gutter, and we've been doing that for decades now. You know,
and we need to make sure that medications are affordable. I mean, with or without insurance, it can be very expensive, and that's not going to help your mental health.
Exactly.
Well, and that's another thing. The medications can be almost financially devastating as someone whose insurance doesn't cover insulin. You know? I mean, and there's no difference. To me, there's no difference.
Exactly.
All of those medications should be covered. Well, first, insulin is overpriced. That's another story.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, we know that story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Don't even get me started on that one.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. I hear you.
Mental health. Okay.
That's right. Excellent.
But that's all I want to say. And just, I want someone to come up with like a fix to do this so that insurance companies do cover mental health, mental illness, because there are, you know, like me, I've had short-term depression twice in my life. I don't consider it mental illness, but the insurance didn't want to pay for any of it.
Wow.
Right.
You know, and my problem was just, you know, because of just stuff that happened. But yeah, versus the people who have true mental illness, not just, you know, short-term situational, you know, depression. It needs to be treated that way. It needs to be taken seriously. And I'm from, you know, the medical field, and it's not taken as seriously as it should by the insurance companies and by a lot of people on both sides who are in office.
Yes.
And I think how do we change that? I mean, how do we just change that?
I think one of the commenters is bringing up a good point that what do we do? What happens in other countries that have universal health care, and how do they do it?
Yeah.
And I think that some of these insurance companies are, in a way, maybe. I mean, I'm just sort of throwing this out there as random. Let's bag on insurance companies for a minute. They are aware of what other insurance companies are doing in other countries.
Right.
They know this gets covered, and that there is better treatment plans, and that there is better coverage for people in other countries. And I think they really need to have their feet held to the fire on that here in the United States, where they basically get away with, just kind of living in denial, as though, oh well, out of sight, out of mind, or something. They're just getting away with it, and I think it's going to take. Well, I think it's going to take some very serious social activism to actually change that. I don't know another way around that except protests and social activism to get people to pay attention.
Well, unfortunately, it's probably going to take whatever the version of George Floyd is for mental health, whatever that means.
Well, we keep seeing examples of it with mass shooters and other things. And even, I mean, hell, let's go all the way to, serial killers.
Yeah. I mean, what's the final straw? I don't know.
Exactly. Well, Meredith, thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. Yeah. I love your show.
Awesome. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cool. Yeah. The demand is definitely there. You know, it's not like, us citizens don't get this. It's certainly those of us who are having to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think at this point, especially as brought up in the comments earlier with COVID, and with the shut-ins and the lockdowns and people having the stress and the added, anxiety, of it, I think we are seeing more of this kind of developing, and we've got to, anyway, there just has to be recognition.
Yeah, there needs to be.
What's worked for you in terms of helping people understand and getting past those stigmas?
It kind of depends on the person. Some people, there's just no winning. But I think when you explain to them, oh, wow. I think, just calmly sitting there explaining to them, this is what's really going on. This is how it really works. Giving them ideas about things to watch, read, whatever,
Right.
That kind of thing.
So education.
Yeah, education, and just explaining it to them as best as you can where you're coming from, how it's not just this thing in your head, that it really is something physical going on that's changing you.
Yeah. Yeah, and pushing back on these stupid insurance companies.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. One accident, one illness, one major problem, anyone could be on the street. Very, very true.
Well, I think since we're all down, maybe we should see a little more 7.
Okay. Here is some more 7 cam. Let's see here. There he is.
More napping.
Yeah. Now he's kind of really chilling there on the couch. God, maybe I should make sure our blankets are all wrapped
neat
up there.
Next time.
Neat, yeah. Here's my clean freak coming out, right? Oh my God, that blanket.
Yeah. Look at the blanket. Look at the cute kitty.
Our little guy. All right. Cool. Looks like we might have another call here. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. This is Katie. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, welcome to the show. What's up?
Oh, listen to you on the issues of mental health care. And I'm in Northeast Georgia, and it is a nightmare here. Mental health facilities here, I've never been so frustrated in all my life. I've been on like 13 to 14 different drugs in the past 10 years.
Wow.
And, right now I've got a combination where I'm barely holding on. But I'll tell a psychiatrist, I really need a therapist, and they'll say, oh, well, here's a list. You can find one. And I'm like, don't you have one that you work with or you know? We talk to all of them. If they have an issue, they'll call us.
Wow.
And my current psychiatrist, I was complaining about this. I said, look, I had this stupid idea. Apparently, it was a stupid idea that you worked with a therapist and you knew me a little bit. I said that you could recommend one you thought would work well with me. I said, and as far as you listening to my problems, I said what my issues are. I said you don't really want to know.
Mm-hmm.
The excuse this woman gave me blew me away. She said, "Well, as psychiatrists, we have to keep up with all the myriad of drugs and what they're capable of doing and not doing, and to then keep up with all the latest and greatest therapies. It's just too much to ask."
Wow.
I'll say.
Isn't that kind of their job? Jeez.
Well, yeah. What did you think about that?
And I really kept my mouth shut because I am a ballsy old brat. I really wanted to say, let me introduce you to my veterinarian. They're really smart. They have very high IQ.
Right. This brings
multiple species.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed my prescription refill, so I just kind of gritted my teeth on that one. And,
yeah, that's the hard thing with doctors for any kind of disease. Is just like sometimes you can't say the things you want to or have the reaction you want to because you're like, well, this guy's the guy that gets me my medicine.
Well, my issue got decidedly worse. In 2009, I ended up with a really severe concussion. And I've tried to tell them it got markedly worse after that. And, I might as well have said, well, I had a hangnail. Nobody's ever looked at the records. They don't know what happens. They don't,
Wow. This brings to mind for me, and tell me what you think about this. I mean, it seems kind of obvious. I don't think I'm, again, saying anything too original here, but we're talking about right now reforming the police and reforming, the justice system and stuff. I think psychiatry needs a bit of a reformation as well in terms of how doctors are trained to deal with people, especially when it comes to mental health issues and listening.
Well, all of it needs to be addressed. And another issue that we've got here that other countries don't have is that the insurance companies are running the show.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Good point.
Not our doctors.
Yep. And that's where it seems to keep going back to here.
Yep.
Is these insurance companies.
Right.
It's kind of monolithic, nameless, faceless
they
people.
Don't have to care.
My daughter lives in Holland, and their insurance, their socialized medicine there is wonderful.
Wow.
She had needed an emergency gallbladder surgery, and she got it in time. She didn't have to wait. She paid $36 out of pocket.
Wow. Yeah, somehow we have to get the United States over itself on healthcare because every opportunity we have to do something to elect people who will do something about healthcare. And I'm looking at Bernie Sanders, for example, right now as one example. When we talk about universal healthcare or trying to do something about universal healthcare, Americans just push back. They don't seem to get how. They
hear the word socialized medicine. They hear the word socialized.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just panic, and you can't make them understand that the most important entities we have out there are socialist programs.
Yep, that's right.
Our police force, our firemen, our school, even our military.
Right.
That's right. That's exactly right. It's become such this bad-mouthed word that anything connected with it is automatically evil, And yet we benefit from socialism all around us, So it's kind of this real stupidity on the part of Americans, and I'm pretty sick of it personally.
Yeah.
I'm terribly frustrated.
Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating. We've got to get people to step up on this politically and be willing to push back. And we need powerful people to do that for us. We need to elect representatives who are going to actually go and do that work for us, because that's the way our system is supposed to work. We got to find those people.
But and also we seem to have people in place that are hell bent on destroying our educational system.
Yes.
And the poorer educated the masses are, the easier they are to control.
That is true.
And you have people that they've been told this one thing over and over and over, indoctrinated to believe this. It's a type of indoctrination. That anything socialism is bad. And you can't make them understand that pure socialism does seem to lead to communism, but pure capitalism seems to lead to oligarchies and fascism.
Yep.
You've got to have a balance.
Right.
Exactly.
You have to look at each situation individually and say, yeah, this is the right path to follow.
That's right.
That's best for all, for everyone.
That's right.
And until we the people begin to stand up and voice this, then these shysters that have gotten themselves into office are just going to lead us down this rosy path to hell.
Yep, that's right. You and other people who've been calling in, I mean, you guys are so smart. I mean, you get it. You know what I mean? It's not like we have we know what we need to get done. We've got to push on this stuff. I don't know what I'm really just kind of not sure what else to do except rise up, and keep pushing back on the nonsense that we're being fed. Because I agree. I agree with what you're talking about.
Well, rising up, but we've also got systems in place via the media that make a three-ring circus out of our news outlets and whatnot, that keep people angry all the time at each other, and we can't talk to each other anymore. You cannot have a conversation if you vote differently, if you've got the wrong religion or no religion. You're just a piece of dirt from the get-go, and there's no conversation. There's no, it's just this vitriolic rhetoric and everybody shuts down.
That's right. That's right. And I think exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And
I don't have to address that. Are you familiar with Peter Boghossian?
Yes, I am. In fact, I've had him on my podcast in the past. Peter's great.
If we could find a way to address our political differences in the way that Peter Boghossian, the Socratic method.
Yep.
And get people to just calm down and kill that dog.
That's right. That's right. You're nailing it.
Yes.
You are totally nailing it right now. That's exactly right.
And that dog's name is Charlie Barker.
Hey, Charlie. Yeah, no, you're on it.
He's a dog I said I'd never have, and Charlie's both of them.
Aww.
Aww.
Well, Chihuahua and Jack Russell. But anyway.
Yeah, I have nothing but agreement with you on this, and I think pushing that out on, as much as we can. I keep saying that because it's kind of like I want to leave people with something to do rather than it's all just sucks and there's nothing we can do, because we can only affect what we can affect. We can only reach as many people as we can reach. But if we can reach them with positivity instead of negativity, with inclusiveness instead of divisiveness, hey, let's get along and let's figure this problems out together.
There's something, that we the people can agree on. I think that there should be term limits for Congress and Senate.
Yep.
I think there should be term limits for SCOTUS. And
yes.
this should not be like squatters' rights shit.
I know, right?
Right? I agree. 100%. Damn. Speaking sooth. Well, let's keep pushing.
Somebody agrees with me. I love you both.
I love you. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for calling.
It gives me hope.
And y'all just keep putting the word out there, and I'll go away and make room for other callers. And thank you for your time, and thank you for all of your efforts.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Katie. Thanks for calling in. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, good. Well, we are probably going to move toward wrapping up because we've been at it for an hour, and it has been a long day. We definitely got into some of the stuff we wanted to talk about here. I think we'll probably segue into some other topic next week, but we will probably circle back to this because obviously we have a huge topic here with a lot to talk about. And it's an important topic. In fact, it's probably, if you were going to prioritize things, I'd have a hard time trying to figure out right now as I sit here what would take priority over mental health. Because all of the things and problems of society that we deal with or are faced with come from us. Mm-hmm. So if we're approaching, the problems of society from an ill or problematic or skewed point of view, or we've got issues where we're not dealing well with one another, much less with other countries and other situations, then that should be the top priority. And the funding isn't there, the research isn't there enough. It's not that nobody's doing nothing about this. There's a lot of work being done on it, but is it enough? No, it's not. Especially when you have psychiatrists just pushing pills, and that's the only solution in sight. There's got to be more to this. There's got to be a better way. And I think our demand as the consumers, if we are living in a capitalist society, and if it is true that the market decides what happens in the society, which all the free market folks are all about, and if our dollars mean anything to these people, then that's what we need to lead with. And I know that's a very broad statement. It doesn't help us as individuals, but we're not going to solve this as a bunch of individuals. We're going to have to get together and push forward together on this, or we're just not going to get anywhere. So did you have any final things you wanted to say, baby?
I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think just, if you're feeling down, call someone, call the hotline. I know with therapists and psychiatrists, it's hard to find a good one. It's kind of like dating. It takes a while to find the right one. But you can do it and just get the help that you need if you can.
Exactly. And Lip Lock No More, thank you very much for your super chat during the show here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to say, by the way, this show is fan-funded. The calls do cost for me to do this, so I want to throw that out there. So if you guys would... are able to support the show through Patreon or PayPal or whatever. We love the love, and it definitely helps keep the show going. So with that, I think we'll wrap up here. You guys are going to have a great podcast this weekend with me and Rick, and the next week with the Three Apostates, the return of the Three Apostates. And of course my Q&A, and we'll see if we do a live stream next Tuesday. I did a live stream, by the way, just to throw it out there. I did a live show yesterday with John Atack. So for those of you who are interested in the culty stuff I talk about and John's take on things, we did a really long talk, and we talked about governments and politics and cults. Not politics as in American politics as in like how governments get along and the difference between cults and governments and the machinations of them and all of that. So I thought we had a kind of an interesting, if always with John, it's a little meandering, but it was good. It was fun. And John is always in education. So I encourage you guys to check that show out too. And with that, let's get a final 7 cam. There he is. Aw, little 7 sleeping away there. All right, guys. So say goodbye to 7. All right. And we are back. Okay, good. So, with that, we'll end off, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for coming around, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. Thanks for your viewership. Please like, share the show around on YouTube or on the social media. I want to build this channel. I want to build this show up. And with that, see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.